What are the recent changes to the DP-900 exam, and how will they affect you if you're going to take the exam? Hello, I'm Philip Burton of idodata.com. So the DP series of exams are all about data on the web. So whether that's data engineering or data solutions or data science. Now the 900 series is all about the fundamentals. So in other words, not being able to actually do certain things, but knowing that it is possible. So you've got AZ900, DP900, SC900, PL900. So this is a fundamental exam all about data on Microsoft Azure. So how much work do you need to put in to be able to do the DP900? Well, probably about 2 days or so, I would reckon. So my course on the subject is about 7.5 hours of video, and then you need practice, doing practice tests, that sort of thing, to make sure that you've learned the information in the videos. My course does include a practice test, but I always recommend the official one from measureUp.com. So let's have a look at the skills measured. And there are 4 major sections, and really the changes have brought additional percentages, additional number of questions on the working with relational and non-relational data. So describe core data concepts. That used to be 25 to 30%, a quarter of your marks. It's now down to a sixth or a fifth of your marks, 15 to 20%. Describe how to work with relational data. Well, that was 20 to 25%, it's now gone up to 25 to 30%. Describe how to work with non-relational data. Well, this used to be called describe considerations for working with non-relational data. And it was 15 to 20%. So it's now 25 to 30%. And then finally, describe an analytics workload on Azure. So that is warehousing and real-time analytics and Power BI. So that's unchanged at 25 to 30%. But what exactly has changed? Well, let's have a look at the exam skills outline. Now, if I scroll to the top, you can see that at the moment we have the current exam guide, and I'm recording this before April the 29th, so this is the previous exam guide, and then a list of what has changed, and then the new exam guide. By the time you're watching this video, that's probably will have rotated completely. So you'll have the current exam guide always at the top, and then you'll probably have a table showing the changes and then the previous exam guide. So let's have a look at the table that's in the middle and see what's happened. And you can see there seems to be an awful lot of changes, and indeed there are changes. In fact, 2 entire sections have completely gone. A third one says it's deleted, but some of the topics have been incorporated into other sections. So let's have a look at the previous exam guide and see what's gone. Well, the describe types of core data workload is still there. The describe data analytics core concepts are still there. Now, I should point out that there may be some completely different rewording of what's there. For example, describe basic chart types, including bar charts and pie charts. That is not specifically mentioned in the new version. Describe data visualizations, not mentioned. However, if you go to the new exam guide, it says identify the capabilities of Power BI and identify appropriate visualizations. So you need to know what basic chart types, and in fact I think you need to know advanced chart types as well. You need to know the capabilities of Power BI. So while this is expressing it a bit more in detail, it's been rather compressed in the latest version. Now you should note that all of these topics are just illustrations and there may be related topics. So having a wider read is probably not a bad thing. Now, these 3 topics have gone. So the analytic techniques of descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, prescriptive, and cognitive have gone. Describe, extract, load, transform, and extract, transform, load processing has gone. However, you've got describe considerations for data ingestion and processing. So you could say that's a lot about ELT and ETL, and also just data processing generally. Now, you no longer need to describe and compare PaaS, IaaS, and SaaS solutions. So platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, software as a service. However, when we start talking about the family of products like Azure SQL Database, managed instances, and SQL Server on virtual machines, you probably need to know what PaaS, IaaS, and SaaS are anyway. Now, going down to the next section, identify basic management tasks for relational data. This entire section has completely gone. Now, I still think that having some knowledge, for instance, about SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio, is useful, but this entire section has completely gone. Now, in the describe query techniques, then compare DDL versus DML has gone, so you no longer need to know the difference between data definition language and data manipulation language, so you don't need to know whether an update statement is in one particular bucket or another. Now, this query relational data has been downgraded to identify common SQL statements. So you still need the same thing, it's just that you no longer have to write statements, you just have to read it. But to be honest, I don't think you've probably ever had to write your statements anyway. Going down into non-relational data, these first two sections are still there. Again, the wording may well change, but the concepts are there. And this identify basic management tasks for non-relational data has completely gone. But describe method for deployment, including the Azure portal. Well, you'd probably need to know about that anyway to be able to do any of the other things. If we go down to describe an analytics workload and on Azure, then describing the difference between batch and real-time, data warehousing workloads, and when a data warehouse solution is needed, they've all gone, but we still have to describe common elements of a modern data warehouse. So that's useful background knowledge at the very least. In addition, the architecture and workload, though not expressly said, would be useful. In addition, describe common practices for data loading is no longer there, but describe considerations for data ingestion and processing. So it sort of is there. It's just worded quite differently. And then this Microsoft Power BI section. So describe the role of paginated reporting is no longer there, but I would say that the last three are needed for what is there, which is identify capabilities of Power BI, describe features of data models in Power BI, and identify appropriate visualizations for data. So the workflow itself, you may not necessarily need to know the get and transform data that goes into your visualizations, and then you can use the DAX language to add measures and so forth directly, but you would need to describe features of data models, and data models do include calculated measures, calculated columns, and that sort of thing. So if these have been deleted or modified, what is additional? Well, if we go to the exam guide as of April the 29th, then identify roles and responsibilities for data workload. So what is the difference between a DBA, a database administrator, compared to a data engineer, compared to a data analyst? Then going much further down, what is Azure Synapse Data Explorer? And what is Spark Structured Streaming? And I would say those are the new topics in the 29th of April 2022 update. Now, Azure Synapse Data Explorer, well, that is quite useful when considering the modern data warehouse. So there we have got it immediately after Azure Databricks and Azure Synapse Analytics. So as I say, so the DP-900 exam. So there is a de-emphasization on identifying basic management tasks for relational and non-relational data. So my course is around 7 hours in length, and if you factor in time to do all of the quizzes, for instance, and then doing any practice tests, both mine and in the official practice tests, then I would reckon it would take you a couple of days to do it. So if I can help you with your DP-900 journey, then you will find a link to my course in the description to this video. So the updates to the DP-900, they are a simplification of the exam requirements, and they are there so that you can focus more on the capabilities of non-relational and relational data with Microsoft Azure. I hope you will look into the topics for yourself. Hopefully I will see you in the course, and I really hope that you have a go at the exam. So wouldn't this official Microsoft certification look good on your CV or resume? Thank you very much for watching this, and please keep learning.